Okay, guys, Adam Trigger here. It is Thursday morning, daily free pick show, Wager Talk TV. It's time for On the Clock. I guess tri-weekly free pick show. Now that we're doing Around the Horn on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So that is always going to be live at 9 a.m. with Brian Leonard and Tokyo Brandon. And then on the off days, Monday, Thursday, and then one of the weekend days, I will do an On the Clock. And the other thing I'm going to try to do on the Clock, because we're so MLB focused on the other show, Total Bases. I'm going to try to bring a little bit of everything to this show. We'll hit some KBO, maybe talk about AAA if I have a good spot to do so, and then of course MLB, at least a couple of free MLB picks. Today I'm not going to talk about KBO because today I think, if all goes well scheduling wise, I will have a Spaces with Freddie Mills. So I want to save KBO for that. He is the KBO savant, if you will. So I'm gonna save KBO today because I think we're gonna get a Spaces in somewhere in the 12:30 to 1 Eastern window. So stay tuned to that and make sure you're following me at Adam Trigger WT, which should be on the screen. Don't know where it went down there with my name, but anyway, at Adam Trigger WT on Twitter. That'll be up live and on demand. So we're going to start with Major League Baseball. I'm going to talk about a couple of spots later on the card. If you're looking for an early play, I have one of those. That's a 4% top rated client play that's currently up at WagerTalk in one of the early games. I'm 3-0 in the MLB this week, all 5% winners. So that's one thing that's I'm ahead in baseball this week, and I'm being carried by MLB 3-0. All of them 5% plays, one with the A's last night. So I'm pretty happy about that. But we've got 3 minutes on the clock, and I want to talk about this Royals-Rockies doubleheader for a minute. And the focus here for me is going to be on game 2. Now, the reason I'm focused, game 1, I just think the Royals are going to win, and there's really no value there. That's going to be Cole Ragans. I've talked extensively about how much I like Cole Ragans this year. I fully expect the Royals to win game 1, but they're a big favorite in game 1, and they should be. So really, this is going to be game 2 is really about how game 1 plays out, because I think if game 1 plays out in a certain fashion, we may have a very favorable setup for the Rockies in game 2. And what I'll be looking at with the road team and a team like the Rockies is, of course, trying to get a favorable price on the +1.5. I think it's probably like -120 right now. But if the Royals win game 1, especially if they win game 1 convincingly, that could change. So I'll be looking at Rockies +1.5 in game 2 if the situation, presents itself. And really what that means is if the Rockies lose game 1, because the thought process would be hopefully they lose a close game. That would be the best case scenario. The Rockies lose a close game where they're kind of trailing in game 1, forces the Royals to use some of their leverage bullpen arms. And also, the Rockies maybe can save their bullpen a little bit for game 2. If the Rockies win game 1, especially if they win a close game, it's probably going to be not really going to be a spot where you want to bet them in game 2. But the reason I think there's some, the reason I think this is worth talking about. So you're going to have game 2, you're going to have likely Chase Dollander and Michael Lorenzen. So Chase Dollander, prospect for the Rockies. It'll be his 4th big league start. We actually bet him in his major league debut and won. He got the win in that game over the A's. Hasn't been as good the last couple times out, but I'll give him a break against the Padres. And he wasn't great against the Nationals. But you know what? The Rockies aren't going to win anything this year. He's up here to sort of get some experience, trial by fire style. So I don't think his confidence is shot by any means. I think that was the deal, kind of calling him up when they did. Hey, go and just figure it out, get some experience. Maybe he'll get sent back down at some point. But again, I think he's just up there to get some reps at the big league level. And obviously he wants to pitch well and he wants to stay around. But really the Rockies, what's so interesting about this Rockies team right now is they have a very, very good bullpen. Last 10 days or so, their bullpen ERA is 2. It was under 2. And I think they gave up a couple runs to the Royals on Tuesday, but that wasn't even that big of a deal. They gave up, kind of 1 run in the 9th inning in a 3-2 game. Their bullpen has been outstanding the last 10 days. And I got to be honest. You look at this bullpen on paper, I bet there's 20, I bet there's 15 teams in Major League Baseball that would like say, if you gave them the opportunity, you said, hey, would you swap your bullpen with the Rockies right now? Swap the full thing. Would you take the Rockies bullpen in place of yours? I bet there's 15 teams that would say yes to that because they have a lot of good underrated arms and they have a lot of upside. Zach Agnos gets called up, just made his Major League debut. He looks to be a very strong reliever potentially. Jaden Hill has great stuff. He was awesome at Albuquerque earlier this year. He's now up. And then you've got like these upside guys like Angel Shavili. Tyler Kinley has turned himself into a pretty good reliever. And then you've got veterans like Jake Bird, who's been fantastic. Even Jimmy Herget, who's been around for a long time, is off to a great start this year. So, Michael Lorenzen, he really hasn't been all that impressive, hasn't really looked sharp so far this year. And it's a true doubleheader, which means as soon as the first game ends, like 30 minutes later, 45 minutes later, they're going to try to start game two. Could be a little bit of a flat sort of environment for game two. And I really think if the Royals get that game one win, especially if they like sort of need to burn some assets to do so, you're going to have the Rockies in a pretty favorable spot in game two. And if you can get that +1.5 at a favorable price with the road team, that's not the worst look in my opinion. So that's something I'll be looking at today. Seeing, I'm going to watch that first half of the first game of the doubleheader and see if we can justify making a play on Rockies +1.5 in game two. All right, we're going to stay out west where I was up late last night, struggling, trying to stay awake to watch the end of A's Rangers, which was a 5% win for me. Ended up kind of being easy, even though the A's stopped scoring after like the second inning. They just were able to make a 5-run lead stand up. They end up winning 5-2. We get the Nick Kurtz Major League debut. He goes 1 for 4 with an RBI single. He's, I think, arrived. If you've been watching what he's done at the AAA level for Las Vegas, he's more than arrived. He's not going anywhere. And suddenly, well, the A's, as I've been saying, like all year, are a very, very good baseball team with a lot of upside, and they're about to be really good against right-handed pitching. They look at this lineup. Like now that you have Kurtz in there, Soderstrom has been raking. He's a left-handed bat. Lawrence Butler, breakout last year. He's a left-handed bat. The A's are about to be very tough on right-handed pitching, and they're going to be up against a good one here in Jacob deGrom. But, this is something we've talked about on our other show a couple of times already this year. He's come out and said that he's going to take a little bit off, and he's really more concerned with keeping his load managing himself, if you will, to make sure that he gets to September and October ready to go. Like deGrom's had injury issues his whole career. He wants to make sure that in September, when the Rangers are likely in contention playing playoff baseball, that he is 100% and ready to go. Now, he looked very much 100% full tilt against the Dodgers, but that was the Dodgers. That had like a playoff type feel to that game. I think over the course of the season, you're going to see him content with maybe not throwing, maybe not emptying the tank, maybe going 5 or 6 innings. That's kind of what his other starts have looked like. He didn't really look dominant at all against the Mariners or the Rays, only went 5 innings against the Red Sox. And I think the Rangers are fine with it. The Rangers the Rangers haven't even played good yet, and they're still 14-10 and in first place in the AL West. So, that's where I don't think the Rangers are that concerned about these games early in the year when they're battling injuries. They want to make sure deGrom stays healthy. Corey Seager just went out with a hamstring injury. They collectively have not hit yet as a team. So right now, but they're still talented enough where they're going to win a lot of games regardless, just based on they have a good ball club. Like I said, 14-10 in first place in that division, haven't even played well yet. But this is not the easiest spot for them. JT Ginn, I had him ranked number 1 of any pitcher in the minor leagues coming into the season after those first couple starts. And he's been pretty solid in his 2 major league starts, 13 strikeouts in 10 innings. The Rangers, like I said, they really haven't hit yet. So this might be a decent matchup for Ginn. The A's, I usually like to get them when I think they're going to have a lead and when I know that they're going to have their top bullpen guys. Now, Ferguson and Miller pitched last night. but it was 12 and 13 pitches respectively. So if they have a lead, those two will be in tonight. This is another scenario where I'd kind of look A's plus 1.5, just based on like respecting DeGrom, knowing this could be a close game. That's probably the most appealing angle here for me. Getting that A's plus 1.5 at like minus 125 or better is how I'll kind of look. But if they can figure out, the A's are going to have to figure out those middle innings, because it's possible Ginn only goes 4 or 5. And then, of course, you'd have Ferguson Miller in the 8th and 9th again. That's been the A's sort of Achilles heel at this point in the year. But again, just like I think you have to fade DeGrom right now because he's always priced as an elite option. And I just don't think you're getting like playoff DeGrom in most starts early in the season. He has come out and said that he wants to take care of his arm, take care of himself, and make sure he's around to pitch for this team in the playoffs this year. So I think that's something that you have to take into consideration anytime you're talking about DeGrom and the Rangers, because they're going to be a premium option. All right, let's talk a little minor league baseball to finish it up. That's like the one thing for me so far. I am off to a very poor start in AAA, but I'm not worried about it at all. Over the course of the season, this has the biggest edge. So I fully expect I've ended up ahead in AAA every year since I started betting it regularly in 2021. Last year, I documented every pick I made in AAA on Twitter, posted every single play, ended up over 5 units, and we were just tracking them each for 1 unit. So basically this year's equivalent, they're all 3% plays at WagerTalk. That would have been like 16 units or so, or 16% gain. So again, not at all worried about it. It's just been very unlucky. Like I lost a 1-0 game in the 11th inning yesterday, blew a 5-2 lead in the 8th inning, lost an extra inning game with Reno over the weekend. So again, not worried about the slow start in AAA. If anything, just been very unlucky. Fully expect that to turn. So I'm going to talk about a couple of angles I'm looking at tonight, ones I actually may play. But as everything with AAA, everything is lineup contingent. So I almost always need to see a lineup before I'm willing to make a play. So Iowa, Louisville. We've got 2 of our former KBO guys facing off. That's why I want to talk about this game. Chris Flexen and Aaron Wilkerson. So Flexen, former Doosan Bear. Aaron Wilkerson, former Lotte Giant. This was the game I lost yesterday. I had Iowa. They lose 1-0. It was just a really good game where both teams had young stud pitchers that both pitched well. Both teams used top bullpen arms, and each team had 4 hits. And Iowa ended up on the wrong end of a 1-0 11-inning loss. But today, so a couple things here. One, I think Iowa has more bullpen options than Louisville, so that's definitely appealing. But they also have like what I consider much better starting pitching option in Chris Flexen, who has been fantastic for the Iowa Cubs this year. 0.40 ERA, 1.07 whip in 4 starts. But most importantly here, he's getting deep in the games. It's like he's effortlessly giving them 6 innings. And that's really big here with 2 teams that just use a bunch of bullpen the last 2 days. Aaron Wilkerson is a guy that I think is probably a fade. He kind of came over to Korea middle of 2023, was really good for Lotte Giants, but regressed last year. Now he's back in the States in the Reds organization. Kind of looks like a guy that's just there to sort of throw innings in AAA. He still has some decent strikeout stuff. I guess that's appealing, but he's been blown up a couple times. He's been hit hard a few times. And like I look at both these lineups, and Iowa's got the much bigger upside. Like you have to expect Matt Shaw is going to start hitting at some point. Ballesteros is starting to heat up. So and then I look at the Louisville side, and I see guys, Will Benton, Reese Hins, like they're kind of raking at AAA right now. And I don't know if I buy it long term. And I also wouldn't be that surprised if one of them was maybe in line for a day off today. That's also something I'll be looking at. So I'll be leaning Iowa in this game. And then just to stick with our KBO theme, we've got another former KBO guy pitching in El Paso tonight. That's Wes Benjamin, former KT Wiz starting pitcher. He's now back in the States with the Padres organization. And let me just say this, like he's a fly ball pitcher that's always had home run issues, especially during his time in the majors and during his time at AAA. The PCL, the Pacific Coast League, just not the place for a guy like Wes Benjamin, who gets a lot of fly ball outs. And so far, it's looked like the case. 6.62 ERA, 1.75 whip. And amazingly, his two better outings were the two at Oklahoma City. And Oklahoma City's got a great lineup, but Oklahoma City's like one of the few PCL parks that doesn't have much altitude. So far, when he's at home, which is like 3,500 feet from an altitude standpoint, and then his other road start was at Albuquerque, which is basically the same thing as Coors Field, he's gotten absolutely killed. He's just gotten blown up. Obviously, that's where the 1.75 whip and that ERA over 6 have come from. And so tonight at home, wouldn't be all that surprised if that happens again. On the Sacramento side, we're going to see Kyle Harrison. You guys should know who Kyle Harrison is. He spent pretty much all year in the Giants rotation last year. He's a guy like right now, like his big league numbers. So since he got called up to the bigs in 2023, I think he's made like 31 big league starts. 4.47 ERA, 1.30 whip. Honestly, like he should probably still be in the majors. It's just the Giants have so much pitching. They like don't even know what to do with it at this point. Like the Giants are so loaded with pitching that they can have a 23-year-old kid with like a ton of upside that's been pretty good at the major league level down at AAA. That's what Kyle Harrison is right now. And they've got bullpen arms too. Yesterday, they blew a 5-2 lead in the 8th inning to El Paso because they just decided to use their B bullpen arms. Not really, I guess, sure why they did that, but they're just trying to spread the innings around. So here now in relief, you got all the options to follow Harrison. I'll probably come back with Sacramento today as long as the price is right. And so those are two things I'm looking at in AAA tonight would be Iowa and Sacramento. I would be very surprised if I'm not on one or both of those for 3-unit plays later tonight. Again, we've got an early one. 4% MLB best bet goes in one of the early afternoon games. 3-0 so far this week in MLB. I'll be looking for 4 straight MLB winners. And if you want to hear some MLB chatter as well as some KBO talk, head on over to Twitter. I'm going to be on with Freddie Mills probably around 12:30 Eastern time today. So we'll set you up for the weekend KBO, maybe give out a pick or two there as well. As always, appreciate you guys tuning in. Grab my 4% play at WagerTalk and make sure you join us tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Total bases, myself, Tokyo Brandon, Brian Leonard, interactive show, answering all your MLB questions for the day right here on WagerTalk TV. We'll see you guys tomorrow.